I want to show you all promising underdogs and favorites that I noticed for UFC Fight Night Perez versus Taira. I'll also give you my final probabilities for those fighters' victories as well as their stat differentials. Please do me a favor and like and subscribe if you find this informative, helpful, or even entertaining. I've also added my Patreon information in the description if you want to support me through that. There's a $10 a month contribution tier and a $20 a month premium tier, which gives you access to all of the analysis and results from my videos earlier than when the video is uploaded, which I just started doing this week, and additional extra analysis and stats. That includes my prediction model results, fighter history, stat overviews, promising underdogs, best inexpensive favorites, prop bets to consider, a deep dive into each fighter's record history and analysis through each of their individual historical fights so you can see their strengths, their weaknesses, how consistent they've been in different stats, their stat comparison versus all of their historical opponents' combined averages. Honestly, it's just all sorts of stats and data analysis. And I'll continue to add more over time. You guys know that I love giving you guys everything that I can to help you for events and continuing to expand and improve on what I have to offer. All of that combined will help you with your picks and bets, so please check it out. It's $20 a month, which is around $5 per event. Running data and editing takes hours every day and week, so I'd really appreciate any support that y'all can show. And thank you to everyone who has shown me support recently. Also, if you like detailed breakdowns and predictions, I do those videos weekly as well for full cards, including prelims, so feel free to check out the channel and let me know what you guys think. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's take a look at promising underdogs. The fighters' names are on the leftmost column, followed by their probability of victories that I presented to you guys in the prediction video from earlier this week. These probabilities aren't only based on several data science prediction models that have been trained for accuracy, but other qualitative information as well about each fighter, such as their momentum, their recent performances, their career's trajectory, psychological factors, training camps, and weight cuts. Then I also provided the stat advantages for fighters compared to their opponents. Now I have excluded stat differentials where one of the fighters has a 0 for their stats, otherwise that will be misleading. First, let's go ahead and take a look at promising underdogs. So the first promising underdog that I want to highlight is Lucas Almeida. Lucas Almeida has a height advantage of 2 inches, he lands 2.52 more strikes per minute, and he has a 13% higher striking accuracy. Now, all things considered, I gave Lucas Almeida a 48.3% probability of victory, and although he's not one of my picks, that means I gave his opponent a 52% probability of victory, so that gives Lucas a really good chance of pulling off an upset here. So Lucas Almeida's won 14 fights and he's finished all of them. Recently, he hasn't done too well, but there are reasons aside from stats alone as to why he can pull off an upset in this fight. Lucas Almeida has extensive experience and versatility in the octagon, and he's shown his ability to win through both knockouts and submissions. So he has a nice, well-rounded skill set. His striking power is particularly notable, with 9 of his 14 wins coming via KO/TKO, which makes him a significant threat in striking exchanges. Now, despite being on his 2-fight losing streak, Almeida's experience in high-stake fights equips him with the mental toughness needed in order to bounce back. Additionally, Almeida's slight height and reach advantage, which gives him an overall size advantage, combined with Kwamba's lack of submission skills and transition to a new weight class, further solidify Almeida's strategic edge in this upcoming fight. I still think that Kwamba's going to win, but Almeida has a good chance of pulling off an upset if you're willing to roll the dice. If you also think that Almeida can pull off an upset here, I would take Almeida via decision. The next promising underdog that I want to highlight for you all is Miles Johns. Miles Johns is 8 years younger and he has a 9% higher striking accuracy. He also absorbs 1.44 less strikes per minute, has a 10% higher striking defense, lands 0.54 more takedowns on average, and has a 15% higher takedown defense. Now, all things considered, I gave Miles Johns a 53% probability of victory, so I am going for the underdog in this one, and I think that he's a great underdog to feature because he's won 14 fights, he's finished 43% of them, which means he's controlled the other 57%. He's won 5 of his 8 UFC fights, recently he's won 3 of his last 5 fights, and he's coming off of a win into this fight. Now, the last time he lost was actually back in 2022, and it was early 2022, it was like February. But let's talk about reasons aside from on paper as to why Miles Johns will likely win. Miles Johns' strong wrestling background is expected to control the fight on the ground, which will likely neutralize Silva de Andrade's striking power. Miles Johns, if you've seen his physique, you can tell that he's in his physical prime, and I think that that's going to give him a physical edge when it comes to endurance and recovery compared to the 38-year-old Silva de Andrade, who, by the way, does have a history of injuries. Now, Johns' recent momentum, with 4 wins in his last 5 fights, along with his overall mental toughness and adaptability, further boost his chances of winning here. Now, while Silva de Andrade's explosive striking and his experience are notable, Johns' strategic approach, his physical advantage, and his wrestling skills are likely to secure him the victory. Now, I don't think that Johns is going to be able to get the finish here, but I do think that Johns can control Silva de Andrade and get the unanimous decision victory in this fight. The next promising underdog that I want to highlight for you all is Josh Quinlan. Josh Quinlan is 4 years younger, he has a slightly better striking defense, and has a 10% higher takedown defense. Now, all things considered, I gave Josh Quinlan a 50.2% probability of victory, and yes, that does mean that I am actually picking Josh Quinlan to win this fight. And I think he's a great underdog to feature because he's won 6 fights, he's finished all of them, he's won a UFC fight, but reasons aside from stats alone as to why I think he's going to win, his knockout power and his finishing ability is insane. He's gotten 4 knockouts and 2 submissions. He's a black belt in BJJ, and that enhances his versatility as a fighter. He's a threat both on his feet and when he takes the fight to the ground. He has great takedown defense and striking defense like we covered earlier, and essentially those defensive stats are going to let him control the fight where he wants and when he wants. When it comes to defense, Fuguet has a disadvantage in this matchup. Now, he does have a reach advantage and balance skills, but Quinlan's ability to expose his defensive gaps and his overall motivation to win his last UFC contract, I think is going to give him a strategic edge coming into this fight. I personally think that Quinlan via KO/TKO is a good bet to consider for this fight. Now let's flip over to the promising favorites, which there's a lot more of on this card than the promising underdogs, but I've chosen them through 3 main criteria. First, they have a high statistical weighted confidence either through my prediction models or through fighter stat evaluation or some combination of the two. Second, their opponent does not have a high probability of victory, so you're not going to notice any kind of overlap between the underdogs I just showed you and these fighters. And the third thing is that their odds aren't too expensive. If a fighter has negative 500 or negative 700 odds, they're obviously just too expensive to pick, but you could always parlay those kind of fighters if you want. But in this video, I'm trying to focus on giving you guys some value rather than just stating the obvious and pointing out those largely favorited fighters. So I consider these 3 things, I do all of the work for you, and then I show you the valuable picks that fit that criteria. Now, if you want to know how I predict each fight plays out and the results, please check out that prediction video from earlier this week where I review stats, each fighter's fight history, and the results of my 7 data science prediction models, my final picks, and the methods of victory. But for this portion of the video that covers these favorites, I'm only going to review the stat differentials that they have against their opponent. But if you want that in-depth breakdown, please check out that video from earlier this week. It will help you out. The first inexpensive and confident favorite that I want to highlight for you all is none other than the main event, Tatsura Taira. Tatsura Taira has a height advantage of 1 inch. He's 8 years younger. He has a reach advantage of 5 inches. He has a 26% higher striking accuracy. He absorbs about 2 less strikes per minute. He lands 0.07 more takedowns on average, and he lands 1.5 more submissions on average. All things considered, I'm giving Tatsura Taira a 62% probability of victory, and I think he's a great favorite to feature. The next inexpensive and confident favorite that I want to highlight for you all is Garrett Armfield. Garrett Armfield lands 3.29 more strikes per minute. He has a slightly better striking accuracy. He has a 5% higher striking defense, and he has a 22% higher takedown defense. All things considered, I'm giving Garrett Armfield a 66% probability of victory, and I think he's a great favorite to feature as well. The next inexpensive and confident favorite that I want to highlight for you all is Jekka Seregi. Jekka is 6 years younger. He lands 0.65 more strikes per minute. He has a 16% higher striking accuracy. He absorbs 3.8 less strikes per minute, and he has a 12% higher striking defense. All things considered, I'm giving Jekka a 69% probability of victory, and I also think he's a great favorite to feature for this card. The next inexpensive and confident favorite that I want to highlight for you all is Josephine Knudsen. Josephine Knudsen has a height advantage of 1 inch. She absorbs 3.8 less strikes per minute. She has a 2% higher striking defense. She lands 2.05 more takedowns on average and has about a 60% higher takedown defense. All things considered, I'm giving Josephine Knudsen a 66.2% probability of victory. She's done well so far, and I think she's going to get another victory here. I think she's a good favorite to feature. Now let's talk about the bets that I think have value for this card and a good statistical and stylistic possibility of happening. Please disregard prop bets where you're picking the other fighter to win. So here's what really stood out to me. Tatsura Taira to win and Tatsura Taira via submission, Aleskarov via KO/TKO, Kwamba via decision, or if you're going to go for Lucas Almeida, you could also take him via decision. Bottom line, I think that fight will go the distance, and if you want to play it a little safe, you could do the over 1.5. I think the Brady Eistam versus Garrett Armfield fight will have kind of a similar story in the way it plays out. You could take Eistam via decision, or Armfield if you're going to go for Garrett via decision. I don't think that fight's going to have a finish at all, so you could take the fight to go the distance. And if you want to play a little safe, you could do over 2.5. The next one that really stood out to me is Nate Maness via KO/TKO. Also, Josh Quinlan via KO/TKO. Now, in the Carly Judas versus Gabriela Fernandez fight, I don't see anyone getting the finish there, so I would take the fight going the distance. Or if you want to play a little safe, you could do the over 1.5. I think that Jekka Seregi will get the KO/TKO against Weston Wilson. No disrespect to Wilson, but I think Jekka is very hungry. And lastly, I think no one's going to get the finish in the Josephine Knudsen versus Julia Pilastri fight, so you could consider taking the fight going the distance or doing over 1.5 or maybe over 2.5. And with that said, that wraps up this video. I really appreciate you all for watching and being so supportive. Please make sure to hit that like and subscribe for me, and check out that Patreon if you want to support me through there for $10 a month or $20 a month, which also includes early results, early bets, picks, and it includes all sorts of premium data and analysis as well. And I'm going to continue expanding what I have to offer there. Your support helps keep me encouraged and motivated every single day and week to continue running all of this data and analysis and providing all of you guys these insights. So thank you once again, sincerely, and see you guys in the next one.